Good evening, and welcome to Sleep Companion PH, your home for soothing stories and peaceful reflections to help you unwind and drift into a restful sleep. Tonight, we will listen to one of the most powerful stories ever told, a story of faith, courage, and deliverance. It is the story of a man chosen by God to lead his people out of slavery and into the promise of freedom. This is the story of Moses, a man of destiny, whose life reminds us that even in the darkest times, God's light can still guide the way. Take a deep breath, close your eyes, and let your heart be carried away to a time of miracles, mountains, and divine purpose. The birth of Moses. Long ago, in the land of Egypt, the Israelites lived as slaves under the rule of Pharaoh. They toiled under the scorching sun, building cities and monuments for a king who did not know their God. As their numbers grew, Pharaoh feared they might rise against him. So he ordered that every baby boy born to the Israelites must be thrown into the Nile River. But among those who lived in fear was a woman of faith, a mother who believed that her child was meant for something greater. When she gave birth to her son, she hid him for 3 months, and when she could no longer hide him, she placed him in a small basket made of reeds and covered with tar, and set him gently upon the flowing waters of the Nile. As the basket drifted away, the mother prayed with tears in her eyes, "Lord, protect my child," and God heard her prayer. Down the river, Pharaoh's daughter came to bathe. She saw the basket among the reeds, opened it, and found the crying baby boy. Her heart was moved with compassion. "This must be one of the Hebrew babies," she said softly. And so, she took him as her own and named him Moses, which means drawn out of the water. Moses in the palace. Moses grew up in Pharaoh's palace, surrounded by gold, fine linen, and luxury. But deep inside, he knew he was not truly an Egyptian. He was one of the Israelites, the people who labored and suffered in silence. One day, while walking among them, he saw an Egyptian slave master beating a Hebrew man mercilessly. Anger and sorrow filled Moses' heart. He could not stand by and do nothing. And in his rage, he struck down the Egyptian. When Pharaoh heard of this, he sought to kill Moses. So Moses fled from Egypt and escaped into the land of Midian. There, far from the noise of the palace, Moses became a shepherd. He found peace among the hills and quiet valleys, tending the sheep of a kind man named Jethro. And in time, Moses married Jethro's daughter, Zipporah. Years passed, and life seemed simple and calm. But destiny was not finished with Moses. The burning bush. One day, while leading his flock near Mount Horeb, Moses saw something strange, a bush that was on fire, yet it did not burn away. Curious, he came closer, and then he heard a voice, gentle yet full of power. Moses, Moses. He trembled and answered, Here I am. The voice said, Do not come any closer. Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground. And then the voice spoke again, I am the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. Moses hid his face, afraid to look at God. I have seen the suffering of my people in Egypt, God said. I have heard their cries, and I have come down to deliver them. Now go, I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people out of Egypt. Moses shook his head. Who am I to stand before Pharaoh? But God answered, I will be with you. Moses returns to Egypt. And so, with a trembling heart but faith in his steps, Moses returned to Egypt. By his side was his brother Aaron, whom God sent to help him speak. They stood before Pharaoh and declared, This is what the Lord, the God of Israel, says, Let my people go. But Pharaoh laughed. Who is the Lord that I should obey him? And he refused. So began the great struggle between God's will and Pharaoh's pride. The 10 plagues in the Passover. God sent 10 plagues upon Egypt. Waters turned to blood, swarms of frogs and locusts, darkness that covered the land, and sickness that struck the people. Each time Pharaoh's heart grew harder, until the final plague came, the death of the firstborn sons of Egypt. That night, the Israelites marked their doors with the blood of a lamb, so that the angel of death would pass over them, and thus the Passover was born. A sign of God's mercy and protection. At last, Pharaoh relented. Go, he said, take your people and leave. And so the Israelites set out, free for the first time in generations. The crossing of the Red Sea. But freedom was not yet secure. Pharaoh's heart hardened once more, and he sent his army to chase them. As the Israelites stood before the Red Sea, they saw the soldiers approaching from behind. Fear filled their hearts. "Why did we leave Egypt only to die here?" they cried. But Moses stood firm. "Do not be afraid," he said. "Stand still and see the salvation of the Lord." He raised his staff over the water, and the sea began to part. Walls of water rose high on both sides, and a dry path appeared between them. The Israelites crossed safely, step by step under the moonlit sky. When Pharaoh's army followed, the waters crashed back down, swallowing the chariots and soldiers. The people were free at last. The journey and reflection. For 40 years, the Israelites wandered in the desert. There were moments of hunger, of doubt, and even rebellion. But through it all, God never left them. He gave them manna from heaven when they hungered, and water from a rock when they thirsted. He guided them by a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. At Mount Sinai, God gave Moses the 10 Commandments, laws of love and order, written not just on stone, but meant to be written in their hearts. Moses led the people with patience and faith, even when the journey felt endless. And though he did not enter the promised land himself, he saw it from afar, the fulfillment of God's promise. As you rest tonight, remember the story of Moses, a man who doubted yet believed, a man who stumbled yet stood tall for what was right. May his journey remind you that no sea is too deep, no mountain too high, and no heart too broken for God to bring you through. Take a deep breath, let go of today's worries, and rest in faith, knowing that tomorrow is guided by the same hand that led Moses through the waters. Good night, and may peace be upon your dreams.